Good evening, my students. Welcome again to our lecture. Our today's lecture is about the topic of logic as a representation of meaning. So for the time being, let's start by discussing about validity, soundness, and logical form. Logic may be defined as the study of valid reasoning and inference. On this definition, logic investigates the properties of valid chains of reasoning and specifies the conditions which these chains must meet in order to be valid. In order to work as arguments, consider the following exchange. Coco is a primate, so she likes daytime television. What? I don't get it. All primates like daytime television. Initially, B is unable to follow A's line of thought, and as a result, A is forced to state the general principle on which her conclusion tests. This allows us to reconstruct A's original train of thought as the following argument of syllogism. So the example given in 1 is a kind of syllogism. Coco is a primate, so she likes daytime television in A. And B, what? I don't get it. So the syllogism will be all primates like daytime television. So the syllogism here represents the part of one part taken from A to be one argument that is logic. Okay. All primates like daytime television. So here, Coco is understood as a kind of primate. So the conclusion will be all primates like daytime television. Okay, do you get the point? That's about the syllogism by giving the argument. The second one, all primates like daytime television. 2, Coco is a primate. Therefore, Coco likes daytime television. So the first argument or the first proposition, all primates like daytime television. Second one, Coco is a primate. Therefore, the conclusion, 3, Coco likes daytime television. So you have to, what we call it, take the important parts of the propositions in 1 and 2 to become, okay, the conclusion in 3. Coco likes daytime television. Okay, Coco in 2, and then likes daytime television is the kinds of proposition in 1. Argument 2 thus reveals the explicit logical structure of A's command in 1. As Neil and Neil explained in 1962, page 2, The first tentative step towards logical thinking are taken when men try to generalize about valid arguments and to extract from some particular valid argument a form or principle which is common to a whole class of valid arguments. Given the meanings of the words all, like, and is. The conclusion here, Coco likes daytime television, just has to be true as long as we accept the truth of the proposition all primates like daytime television. Okay, the two proposition will bring to or will give the result the conclusion, like you see in the example above. Next, the first two propositions in two are called the premises. An argument premise may be defined as its starting point, one of the proposition from which the conclusion follows. In two, the last proposition is the conclusion. Note that the validity of arguments or of chains of reasoning as a spatial relationship to the words in which the premises and conclusion may be stated. Substitute different words and the argument may not be valid. None of the following arguments, for instance, is valid. Okay, please have a look to below, or the third one. A and B. We will compare the propositions or premises, and then will become, or they will become, the conclusions. Most primates like daytime television. Coco is a primate. So here, Coco is considered as a primate. Therefore, Coco likes daytime television. So by telling or by stating the statement, most primates like daytime television, okay, you simultaneously or practically tell about the proposition itself or the premise itself that refer to the Coco likes daytime television. Okay, from most primates like daytime television, and Coco is a primate. Therefore, Coco like daytime television. Okay, if you want to know it better, you have to break them out. Okay, break it down or break them down. For example, most primate like daytime television. Coco is a primate. Coco from the second premise or the second proposition will become the first statement, Coco. And then likes is taken from the first proposition or the first premise, and also followed with the daytime television. Here, to make the conclusion, you have to add or you have to put the important point of these two proposition to become logic. Okay, as you can see, and then to make your understanding improve, I will give or propose the second example. All primates may like daytime television. Coco is a primate. Therefore, Coco likes daytime television. Okay. A and B, all primates may like daytime television. So the difference is in the use of most and all. Most and all, sorry. So here, the conclusion is the same. Coco likes daytime television because the first statement in the first proposition or premise is not really important. Okay, most primate and all primate are not really needed in making the conclusion. Okay, when the statement is chained with all, it does not affect the conclusion itself. As you can see, most and all. Okay, the second proposition in the second example, most is chained with all. So that the conclusion or the pattern of the conclusion is not changed. Okay. In short, that when you want to make the conclusion from two premises or two proposition, when the first one is changed, it does not affect the conclusion itself. Next, we may therefore say that the validity of this argument type is a function of the meaning of the term in the syllogism. In particular, the meanings of the determiner all and of the verbs like is. In for, if we retain the logical words all and are, but substitute words whose meaning is unknown, the resulting argument is still valid. If the premises are true, the conclusion must be true. Okay, please pay attention or have a look to the next example in 4. All scouts are Hillary's. Stephen is a scout. So from these two premises, how could you make the conclusion? So you can see from the third one, Stephen is a Hillary. Sorry, Stephen is a Hillary. So here, the conclusion is made by adding one component from the second premise or second proposition. Okay, Stephen is, and then one component from the first premise, Hillary. So because Stephen is a pronoun of he or third person singular, so that it must be followed with is and a singular noun, not by using the plural noun. So the conclusion must be Stephen is a Hillary. Okay, from this premises or from this conclusion of the concept of syllogism, we can take the important point or the what we call it the highlight or the highlighting that the second premise, okay, can be used as the first part of the conclusion. And then the first one can be used as the next part of the conclusion. So any argument which conforms to the pattern of 4 will be valid. This allows us to see that the pattern of valid inference exemplified in 4 is systematic and does not depend on the details of the material inserted into the logical formula. The validity of this argument is a function purely of the meaning of the predicates and of the term all and of the argument's logical form, its underlying logical structure. So when you are able to arrange or to make a concept about the truth or the logical syllogism, the argument is called as logical form and its underlying logical structure. Okay, do you get the point of this one? From the fourth example, by using the premises and then conclusion in the syllogism concept. Okay. In short, that to the point, syllogism itself is the way of making the material inserted into the formula to become logical formula or logical form. The fact, however, that an argument conforms to the pattern of 4 may make it valid, but this does not make its conclusion true. Logical validity and truth are quite different properties. Validity is a property of arguments, truth a property of sentences. The following argument is valid in logic, but its first premise is not true. So you have to highlight or underline this statement. The fact, however, that an argument conforms to the pattern of 4 may make it valid, but this does not make its conclusion true. Although it is valid, okay, although it is valid, but its conclusion true. Logical validity and truth are quite different properties. Validity is a property of arguments. Okay, you have to remember, validity is a property of arguments. Truth, a property of sentences. Okay, please don't forget, validity is a property of arguments, not a property of sentences. Meanwhile, truth is a property of sentences. Okay, when you want to check the validity, it is a property of arguments. When you want to check the truth, it is a property of sentences. Okay, it could not be interchangeable. The following argument is valid in logic, but its premise or its first premise is not true. Okay, for example, in 6, please have a look to the 6th one. All people born on a Tuesday are unhappy. Bogomil was born on a Tuesday. Okay, please pay attention to these two premises or proposition. Therefore, the conclusion will be Bogomil is unhappy. So you have to be smart or to be what we call it tactical in defining the conclusion of making what we call it the last argumentation from these two premises. Okay, please have a look. So that Bogomil is unhappy. with the argument, he was born on Tuesday. Here, you have to check that there is a validity. It is a property of arguments. Meanwhile, the truth, a property of sentences. Okay, please check which one is the argument and which one is sentences. Or which one is sentence and which one is argument. Which one is valid and which one is true. You can check here by identifying the statement. This means that 6 is valid in logic. It is valid in logic, but it is not true. Not true refer to the property of sentence. Valid argument whose premises are true are referred to as sound. Argument like 6, which are valid but which do not have true premises, are thus unsound. We can tell that 6 is valid since if the first premise were true, then the conclusion would also necessarily be true. Okay, note that whether Bogomil is, as a matter of fact, unhappy has nothing to do with the soundness of 6. Bogomil may well actually be unhappy, but this is not proven by the argument in 6. Okay, you have to be focused in identifying or analyzing these premises. This means that 6 is valid in logic. In general, or as our, what we call it here, general conclusion, the statement or the conclusion in 6 is valid in logic, but it is not true, because valid argument whose premises are true are referred to as sound. Argument like 6 which are valid but which do not have true premises are thus unsound. Okay, you have to refer back to the definition. Validity is a property of argument, truth a property of sentences. Okay, it is valid, because it is a property of argument, but it is not true. Okay, because what we call it, the truth is a property of sentence. Okay, please check again. We can tell that 6 is valid since if the first premise were true. The first premise were true, then the conclusion would also necessarily be true. Okay. Bogomil may well actually be unhappy, but this is not proven by the argument in 6. Do you get the point? Do you understand which one is valid and which one is true based on validity or valid is a property of argument. Truth is a property of a sentence or sentences. So here you have to differentiate the meaning based on the argument and the meaning based on the sentence. When you want to check the validity, you must refer to the argument itself. When you want to check the truth, you must put your consideration or your argumentation on the sentence. There are two differentiation in determining validity and truth themselves. Okay, so at the last point, we have to differentiate between sound and unsound. Okay, sound because valid argument whose premises are true. Valid arguments whose premises are true. Valid because arguments whose premises are true. Okay, it is called as sound. Okay. Meanwhile, okay, or whereas, when the arguments do not have true premises, so that they are called as unsound. Okay, although it is valid, but it is not true. Do you get the point? Okay, to check your understanding about this topic, I'll give you the homework. Okay, this is your homework. And as usual, please do these questions or exercises correctly. And please use the material given previously as your standard of analyzing the questions given. Well, I think that's all for today about the topic of logic as a representation. Okay, so that if you have any question, please deliver your question related to our topic of discussion today. Okay, logic as a representation of meaning. Okay, this one. What is logic? Number two, please make one example of syllogism. What is the name of proposition in syllogism? What is meant by validity? What is meant by sound in valid argument? Okay, I think the questions are quite easy. If you have read what we call it, the important aspect of this topic, logic as a representation of meaning. Okay, do you have any question before I end the question? Sorry, end the lecture today. Is it clear enough, or you are still confused in understanding this topic? The topic is quite difficult to be understood, I think, but you have to learn it well, because it is one important aspect in studying semantic itself. You have to know about what is logic, what is what we call it validity, truth in determining syllogism. Okay, if there is no question, as usual, I'll send the link of the attendance. Okay, please open your chat column. There are two kinds of links. The first one is for the regular students, while the second one is for the executive one. Okay, time is yours. And also the information for the regular student. Don't forget to sign your attendance. Okay. Have you finished? Okay. I think that's all for the topics today. I hope you will be able to answer all of the question given as your homework. And don't forget to submit it at least next week before our lecture started. Thank you very much for your attendance and participation. As usual, before I end the meeting, I'd like to give the conclusion of our topic of discussion today. Today, uh, we have studied about logic as a representation of meaning. So we have studied further, or we have studied more important aspects about how to identify premises, or what we call it proposition, in determining syllogism. So here you have to be understanding about the meaning of validity and truth based on the sentences or based on the statement. Okay, I think that's all for today. See you next week. Goodbye.
Terima kasih, Pak.